Alright, hey everyone, this is the Unconditional Baller, and today I'm going to be doing a commentary about my thoughts of religion in general, and then I'll probably pop in my own opinions at the end. So, basically, I'd say that religion comes down to a few different branches. There's, say, people who believe in God, who are hardcore, they're into God, they believe in Him. There's people who are atheists who believe that there's no God, and then there's people in the middle, which is called agnostic, which is what I believe in. And so, basically, people who are atheists, they say they don't believe in God. They're going to say, oh, well, I just believe in evolution, I believe in science, I believe that we've came from nothing and formed into everything. Which, I mean, in some sense, they have a good point, because, if you look at evolution over time, I mean, it's obviously occurring around us. However, the problem that I have with saying that you are atheist is that you're saying that you're believing in science, but it's not very scientific to say that everything came from nothing. That we just had this blank whatever, nothing, and then it just exploded into everything that we currently have today. And I mean, that just doesn't seem logical to me. I think that the concept of evolution and that we've changed over time to suit an environment makes perfect sense. I mean, you can see that in everything that occurs. However, I think that the concept of us just spawning from random rearrangements just doesn't seem very likely. On the other hand, there's the belief that God has created everything, God's always been here, and I mean, the positive to that is that you can't prove that wrong until they go, well, this is literally what happened. We have photographic video evidence that a meteor hit the earth. But even if that's the problem with science, is like saying that a meteor hit the earth or whatever, how did that earth become what it was? If you get what I'm saying, it's that you have a good point about things evolving, but they had to evolve from something, and it just doesn't make sense that they just randomly appeared. Now, as for God, I mean, it does make logical sense. And I mean, if you live, say, in the 1500s, like a long time ago, to have everything around you that you have, I mean, it would just seem very logical to have a God. Because, I mean, how else would all this stuff just have been created? Because as humans, we conceptualize as, oh, well, I can create another human, or I can create a building or something like that, but I can't create all of this earth, I can't create other organisms, so something obviously would have been responsible for that, so it would be easy to put that onto God. However, the problem that I have, and I mean, I don't have a problem with anyone who believes differently to me, but if I'm trying to put myself in God's shoes here and just say that it's not very logical to say, if you were creating the earth, you're creating all these people, fair enough, that's cool, but why would you make them do some of the stuff that gods have us do? So think about it. I mean, why would God make you put random ashes on your forehead on a Wednesday? And why would He make you not eat, say, lamb on certain days? It just doesn't. If you were a god, that's not what you would be worried about. While you're creating the earth, you'd be like, oh, okay, well, I'm just trying to create something that's not a bunch of people who are going to be mess-ups, and I hope that this actually, works out. He's not going to be worried about, my whatever animal is sacred and you shouldn't be eating it. If He designed that as our food source, I mean, that just doesn't seem logical to me. As for my beliefs, personally, I am agnostic, And the reason that I'm agnostic is because, like, I've kind of explained it just there. Like, to say that, because agnostics are like the belief in disbelieving, but I think there's more to it than that. Because, like, agnostics, like, I wouldn't be considered atheist because I believe that it's possible there is a God. I'm not discounting the fact that there could be a God. I mean, I don't know, personally. However, I think that it's unfair that God, if God was real, that he would make us decide from all these gods. Because think about how many hundreds and thousands of gods there have been over the past few years. Or, like, not few years. Past, like, centuries. Like, I mean, there's hundreds and thousands of gods to choose from. So, how, and most of them have been man-created. But let's just, if he was the right God, how am I meant to know that? Like, if that makes sense. Because, of course, there's the Bible or the Torah, or there's a variety of sacred texts that explain it. But, I mean, it's not how... I just think that if there is a God, he would be reasonable enough to acknowledge that I am someone who's lived a decent life. I've tried not... I don't go out of my way to make people's lives miserable. And because of that, he would be forgiving and let me go into heaven. That seems logical to me. Because it's not logical for, say, you could live your entire life believing in Christianity and then realize that it turns out that Muhammad is actually the prophet of the real God. And then what happens to you? Do you go to hell for believing in Christianity and Jesus because Jesus didn't happen to be the right God? I mean, I just don't really think that that's fair. Like, I mean, if I was God, I would have made it so that there is a clear, like, book or like, not a clear book because there is, but like something that was more concrete than there's all this evidence from different books. Because, I mean, look, there's so many books out there that how are you meant to know exactly which one? And, I mean, there's different types of Christianity. So, say, if you're Mormon, does that mean that you go to hell because you believed in Mormon traditions, not in Catholic traditions? I mean, it just seems unreasonable. And because of that, I think if there was a God, he would have, say if I was God, I would have made it so that either I would come down to earth and explain it to people, look, I created you guys, you guys are in my image, whatever, similar to like what God has done, except logically, instead of having random disciples of mine write books about it. Because it's just confusing, like it doesn't, if you were God, that doesn't make sense. Like, I mean, think about it, if you were a God, and you needed to communicate to billions of people that you are the real God, how would you do it? Would you send messages down to random disciples to write about it? Or would you go down to earth yourself and say, look, I'm God, I've created you guys, here's my power, and then done that a few times so that people actually know? I mean, that just seems logical to me. And so that's why that's the problem that I have with believing in God. However, I do think that it would be very hard for our world as we have it today to just have formed from nothing. I mean, to just say that we just randomly became what we are now just doesn't seem logical. And because of that, like to say that we just randomly generated into what we have now based on explosions and whatever, that part of saying I believe in science doesn't make sense because it's just not scientific. And because of that, I believe that if there is a God, that hopefully he's reasonable and goes, look, you know what, these agnostic guys, they haven't done anything mean to me. They're trying to be nice to people who follow, like they're not. But they also didn't go, screw you, God, I'm an atheist, I believe you don't exist. However, so basically it's that, and then I also don't understand how it's reasonable to say there's all of these gods, but you have to choose the right God. Because that just doesn't really make sense. Like, to say that I have all these gods around me, but I'm the right God, and you should have known that, is just not logical to me. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the commentary. Please drop a like if you're still here, and have a great day. Post your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks.